to another cool episode of Coffee with Preeti. So, yes, the channel is going to be called Coffee with Preeti, and today we are going to talk about the visa struggles that H1B folks and H4 EAD folks and are going through in America. So, hang tight and let's dive into today's topic. So today I decided to talk about H1B struggles because I am myself in that boat. Because I'm sure many people like me have come to this country because of the amazing opportunities that the country has provided. But in the last few years, there has been some quiet struggles because we cannot even say it out loud. Saying it out loud is just going to, attract more negative attention, and it is going to cause a lot of trouble. So many people don't talk about it out loud, but in our circles here we kind of hear these cribbing and whining about not able to go back to family, parents are not well. So I thought maybe this is the best time to discuss about this topic. So even in my head I'm thinking of moving back to India. I think it's about time because, as you may know, there's a lot of resistance around us here, and it's not just that, it's also about the feeling of where you belong. So this has always been in my mind. So I made a pros and con list of America and India, and I thought of sharing it with all of you because if it's going to help me, it is definitely going to help you. So that's what we are going to talk about: advantages of being in the US as a H1B holder and advantages of moving back to India. So let's talk about moving back to India, right? I always have 5 F's: friends, family, functions, festivals, and food. So all these 5 F's can be found only in India. Of course, you can, celebrate your festivals in the US, you can have your friends and families around you, but for those who have your majority of families residing in India, there's nothing like celebrating Diwali or Christmas back India with your folks. So that's definitely the biggest advantage of moving back to India, where you can introduce your children to your culture, your food, and they can be brought up with your family traditions, which is mostly important for many of my friends here. And of course you can try to inculcate that kind of tradition from living here in the US as well, but I think living around grandparents and family members makes it extra special. So that is the biggest advantage of moving back to India. The second advantage of moving back to India is finding domestic help and childcare. I think it's economically even better in India, and also domestic help, house cleaning, and a cook. When you don't really feel like cooking, or you want to have some extra help, I'm pretty sure you can find easy help wherever you are. So those kind of things are better in India. Finding a nanny in the US is not just difficult but also very expensive. I'm sure it's kind of expensive in India also, but it's definitely not comparable here. And they would actually demand at least 1/4 of our salary, which is not something that we can afford. If you are in the US, you have some restrictions, you have some economical restrictions that you have to worry about. So domestic help, finding a cook, finding a maid, finding somebody who can help you with the child is extremely beneficial. The third biggest advantage of being in India is the no stress of worrying about visa. And we all think it's just once in 2 years, once in 3 years we have to extend it, but no, that's not it. We have to go back to check on our family. There are ailing parents for some people, and some people are in hospital and bedridden. So people here are actually very guilty about not traveling back home and being with their family or spending time with their mom and dad for even 1 week. That's not possible because of all these slots being closed out. And So it is extremely difficult and worrisome for people who are to live in the US and try to take care of their parents with other help outside in India. So visa stress is extremely high when you're an immigrant in the US, especially if you're on a H1B visa. If you're a green card holder, then your life is safe and secure and chilled out, because you don't have to worry about, oh my God, when should I find the next visa slot? When can I go and see my family? You can go anytime and come back. But if you're on a H1B visa, the stress of just renewing your visa, or if your visa expires, you have to renew it and wait for a response, or stayed in the US for almost 6 years and your company is sponsoring you a green card, your perm visa is also not getting approved these days. So these are the various kind of stress that H1B folks are going through in the United States. The other important advantage of being in India is healthcare. Everybody talks about amazing healthcare in the US, and there are good doctors, and you get a really good system. But in India, finding an appointment, finding a good doctor, getting immediate care is definitely an advantage, which you cannot get in the US. There is a long system and a long process that you have to follow in America, right from finding an appointment, finding a doctor who can take care of your sickness, and finding an appointment for your surgery date, paying your bills. Everything goes through a long and exhausting system. Which I think might work for them, but for us who are used to the way Indian hospitals and doctors work, it definitely feels like a step behind what we have been exposed to in India. So I definitely think India is way up higher when it comes to medical scenario, and that's one of the biggest advantage. So that's the fourth advantage of moving back to India. And the last advantage that I think is important, and this also relates with the first advantage that I talked about, which is the 5 F's. Family. Kids grow up with cousins and grandparents, which I think is very important for them when it comes to their personal development and their choices when they grow up. Here there is very limited amount of exposure when it comes to your social gathering, because parents meet friends, and they have a very small social circle and they keep meeting, and that's pretty much it. So when it comes to inculcating your family traditions and your way of upbringing, I think living with your cousins and your parents might help that do better. So that's one big reason why I feel I should go back to India. And the other one is being close to family during important life moments, which could be anything, right? We have aging parents. There are some things where your physical presence is really important, and it's just not enough if you're going to sit from a virtual place and dictate things, because that's just going to probably make things worse. And I know personally so many people who have bedridden parents, and the siblings are taking care of their parents, and it has become a small family issue where they feel guilty, and then they're just being monetarily helpful, they're not physically present to take care of them. So but it has become worse, because now we cannot even go back to India. It feels like we are in a lockdown, and we cannot predict when we can actually be in India and see our parents. But it looks like everything's closed down. Nobody's able to find slots anywhere. And some slots, like when I say slots, I mean, the visa stamping slots. So that's being extremely difficult emotionally and mentally for folks who have parents back in India. So if you move back to India, I think that would be better for you, because that's a very big stress that you can just take off your head and just focus on your work, your family, and also be a part of important things that happens in family. So yeah, these are the biggest advantages of moving back to India. Next, I'd like to discuss the disadvantages, and I don't think there are many, because you were born and brought up in India, so it is your country. You have lived that country for at least 20 years before you move to the US. Traffic and pollution is one of the biggest disadvantages, according to me, when you're moving back. And the second disadvantage when I think of moving back to India is the salary and the work culture. Let's talk about salaries first. It's not like we are earning in millions in the US, and it's not like we are saving a lot. But I guess when you're a H1B person in the US, the conversion rate is much higher. So from an Indian economical perspective, it looks like you're earning more, you're saving more, but I think people who live here can spit out the facts that that's not true at all. But finding a better paying job in India is also difficult. Like, I know there are companies that are now trying to pay equal to their US, if there is the same role in the US, they're trying to match up that salary, but that's not an everyday thing that you can see there. So finding a good pay scale according to your experience can be difficult. And the next thing that I wanted to talk is the work culture. And it could be an inside joke, because even in the US, when we have Indian managers, we kind of are a little stressed out, because they try to keep up on things, and they also try to follow up on weekends. So that's not something that, if you have worked with American managers, you would know that they have their 9 to 5, and then the remaining time is for family, and they don't work on weekends. Friday they sign out early. So these are the perks, right? But when you are trying to move back to India, that is going to change. You are going to be requested to work after 6 p.m. You're going to be requested to work until 11 p.m. And of course, even I feel sad for my colleagues who work from India, and I try to, wrap them up as soon as possible, but that's not the case with every manager. They even ask you to sign in during weekends. So these are some things that you should be prepared for when you're moving back to India. Lower income and work culture. So according to me, I kind of have an open mind. I'm thinking with whatever I make in India, if I'm close to my family and I'm closer to my culture and my kind of food and my kind of social life, that will be enough for me, because I have come to a realization where money is not everything. If I cannot be happy, my family is not happy, what is the point of earning so much money and just keep earning and doing what, right? We cannot even travel, we cannot see our family, friends, or even go to a temple that feels like a temple. So I'm not saying that the temples in the US are not good, they are really good, but in our head we have an idea of what a temple should feel like, and I only get it in India when I go to my Palakkad temple, or even temples in Coimbatore. That's the vibe is just completely different. So that's something that I miss in the US, and these are the advantages and disadvantages. If you think there are more advantages of moving back to India or disadvantages, please put it in the comment section below. I would Now, let's talk about advantages of being in the US as a H1B folk. Now, maybe you're debating to move back to India, but you're still leaning towards staying back in the US. These are some of the advantages that might keep you from moving back, and maybe extending your stay here for some more time. Like I said before, the last disadvantage of being in India was the salaries and the work culture. That's the biggest advantage of being in the US. Work culture and salary. If you get a good job, that is, there are always various ranges that you can fit your job into, but if you land up on a decent job, your work culture and your salary will be the biggest advantage for you. Here people have a very strict sign in sign off time. They don't work after that particular time, and they don't expect you to sign in on weekends. They value Saturdays and Sundays, they value family time, and they also value your personal and your professional time. So that's a strict line that they can draw, and that's very important, because if you're living here all by yourself on a H1B visa with family and kids, and you don't have help from your grandparents or family around you, being in a company that has good work culture will help you live a stress-free life. because there are other stresses that you have to worry about as a H1B holder. Just being in a company that has good work culture will, improve your personal life better. So I think that is the biggest advantage of being in the US. And let's talk about salaries, right? There are different packages that you can get, but companies try to match their competitor. If your skill is really required, they would try to match it up and give you a better package. And if you're going to live in a basic facility like a townhouse, or even rent, I think you can save a lot because the schools are free here. I'm not talking about daycare facilities. The schools, when your kid starts going to kindergarten and first year and second grade, you don't really have to spend much on their education. So you can save a lot. If you have a good paying job with the work culture, I think that's the best place to be in. So then moving back to India doesn't feel like a good option to you. The second advantage of being in the US is the infrastructure and the overall system, right? The traffic rules, the appointments, the process, the documentation. Even if you're planning to buy a house, the seamless process that you can follow. You don't have to bribe anyone, and you can get things faster. Everything happens on a schedule. So just the process that the country follows is very strict and streamlined. You wouldn't have to go through a lot of tunnels and black holes to achieve things. So that way, I think the infrastructure and system is really, really good in the US. The next advantage of being in the United States is cleaner environment and the space itself, right? If you enjoy a quiet place and you're independent and you want to have more personal space and not be interfered by family and friends, this is the place. You can enjoy cleaner neighborhoods, and because if you're living in a suburban area especially, there is less crowding and more personal space. So environment and the space is a huge advantage. The next advantage of being in the States is independence and freedom, which I think is not 100% true these days, but I always have heard from my aunt who moved back in the 1970s that America was not the same. It used to be very free. They were welcoming, and they used to feel included and all that. But nevertheless, the independence that you get, the fact that you're not answerable to your neighbors, nobody pokes their nose in your business, kind of makes life a little easier. And if you're a person who enjoys independence and would like to always have your personal space then this could be the best place for you, because no family interference, no cousins or no relatives visiting you often. So I think that for me is very important. I want my family to visit me. And I know maybe you are probably thinking, you're in the US, you don't get family visiting you a lot, so you don't understand the pain of it. I've heard these discussions before. I do think it has its own advantages and disadvantages, but I enjoy spending time with my family and cousins than being alone in a country, not seeing anybody and secluding myself. That is not my thing, and I don't wish this kind of loneliness to my worst enemy. I want my daughters to also be a part of functions and festivities, so I don't want them to learn this thing that I want my independence, I want my freedom, I don't want to be a part of that gathering. I don't want them to have these notions right away, and that's just my way of thinking. Those who think that I want my space, which is totally up to you, your way, your life, but that's just not my way. So for me, that is actually a disadvantage, the fact that you don't have your family and your functions around. But if you enjoy personal space, then this is the best place to be. So these are the advantages of being in the US. We discussed about work life, salaries, infrastructure, the way the communities are laid out, how the houses and the roads are safe. Every particular house community has a park in it. Kids have, a lot of things to do. But which also comes with parents having to pick up and drop a lot, which I think is nowadays becoming a trend in India as well. But yeah, so these are the advantages of being in the US. And like I spoke before, some of the advantages that are in India are disadvantages in the US, right? Like visa stress, like having to pick up and drop kids for every classes just to keep them busy because they don't have grandparents or cousins in the house, and the fast life in India is catching up in the US as well. The competitive mode is catching up in the US as well. Originally schools in the US were like US schools where kids used to focus only on extracurriculars and art, and now STEM has become this big deal. Parents are behind kids to enroll themselves in the STEM school, which is the science and technology group. So since I think last decade or so, the STEM has become so popular because of Indian families. It wasn't the case before, and I spoke to our area school teachers about this, and they said that the influx of Indian students has led to the STEM culture being popular in the US. It's too early for me to say, but I don't think I'll be that mom who is going to push my daughter to get into a STEM school. I'll be like, do what fits that best for you, but I'll probably navigate her through the right path and try to give her what she likes. But if she doesn't want to get into STEM school, I think it's okay. So these are some things that I feel are advantages and disadvantages here. Now let's talk about school. We touched upon school a little bit before. I want to talk about schooling in detail, because whoever is trying to move to India, the first concern for them, and especially the ones who have kids, is about schools, right? Now, if you have kids who are kindergartners, basically kindergartners are like, in India it's LKG and UKG, then moving back to easy is simple, easy. The transition is going to be better. You can also directly put them in any syllabus or board, like CBSE or state board, depending on your choice. You could also put them in IB board, which is the international board, if there is a IB board school in the place where you're moving to, depending on your budget as well, right? Because these IB board schools have a very high fee structure, so you need to think about that as well. But if you have a kindergartner, the transition is smooth, easy. They are young, relatively they are not going to see the difference. So I think the kindergartner transition will be easy. But if you have kids from 1 to 5 elementary school, they would also be okay if you try to put them in any other business board like CBSE or state board. The problem is when you have a middle schooler or a high schooler, because in India there's the way schools work is homework oriented. They focus more on homework, they focus more on academy. The pressure is slightly more when it compares to schools in India, schools to the US. In US, it's more about creativity. It's more about children learn through projects and explorations. They don't carry homework back to home. It's more play-based and, project-based or practical-based learning. So if you have elementary kids, try to put them in, a state board or a CBSE board. If you think they can easily, they are okay, they are open to welcoming new things in their life, then I think you can just put them in a state board or a CBSE board. But if you think they are, resistant to move to India, or they are worrying about, catching up with schools and homework, then I think for those kind of kids, moving to IB board would be easier, because they are used to the way things work in the US. So, if you move them back, putting them in an IB board will give them a smooth transition. Now let's go to middle school and high school kids. Middle school kids who have already been in the US for their elementary school are so much used to the way schools happen in the US that moving them back and putting them in a CBSE or a state board will mostly lead to a breakdown. And because the way, like I said before, the way schools work in India, right? It's homework based, it's a lot of pressure, it's competitive and very academic based. So if you move them to IB board, the syllabuses and the way the schools work are mostly based on US Cambridge universities, and I guess there are Oxford University based syllabuses going on. So you can choose which school works best for your middle schooler or your high schooler, and then put them in an international board, because I guess for them things will just work the same, which is also going to be less stressful for you, because if you're going to worry about how my kid is going to catch up, Indian schools are way more pressurized and I don't want my kid to go through that, then I think putting them in an IB board is the best option for you if you have middle school or a high school kid. Let's quickly talk about the fee structure in India versus in US. In US, school is free. You wouldn't be paying a penny to the schools for their education, but there are other taxes that we pay in the name of school tax and property tax, which indirectly takes the school fees, but at least you are not directly paying to the school. Everything is free. But in India, I'm hearing that the fees are really high. For state board, I heard it was around 1 lakh to 1.5 lakhs per year, and for CBSE it could vary depending on your locality and your school. It could vary between 1 to 3 lakhs, and ICSE could vary between 1.5 to 4 lakhs, and international baccalaureate IB board could vary between 5 lakhs to 15 lakhs. So there you have it. If you can afford an IB board, and you have 2 kids who are going to go into IB board, then you're looking at around 15 to 20 lakhs per year. So affordability also plays a very important role. So these are the most important things that you have to factor in before you move back. It is not going to be an easy thing. Even though schools are free here in the US, the colleges make up for it. The colleges are super expensive. Nobody can really afford it. Kids go into student loan, and they pay it for a lifetime here. So I came here to do my master's, right? I did my master's in George Washington University, and for a 2-year master's degree I paid around $35,000 to $40,000. So that is for a 2-year course. So if your kids are going to plan to come to the US to do a degree, like a bachelor's degree for a 4-year course, imagine it's going to be way much higher than what we are going to pay in India. So every place has its pros and cons. If you think moving back to India would give you your mental peace and your families are going to get back together and you are going to live a stress-free life, then I think you should just do it. And eventually I think wherever you are happy and your spouse or your partner is happy, your kids will feel happy and content. Happy parents lead to happy family. So that's all matters. Don't keep going back and forth. If you make a decision and you put a pin on it, act on it. I'm not encouraging anybody to move back to India, or I'm not encouraging anybody to stay back here and live a life without family. Do what feels best for you and your family, and I think life will take its own course. So yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to discuss today. Feel free to leave your comment in the comment section. If you feel there are more advantages or disadvantages that I missed, please add it in the comment section and I'll be happy to check it out. Thank you, and I'll meet you another fun episode. Until then, sign off. Bye-bye. So I hope the information we discussed was really helpful for you to make a decision. I will catch you on another fun episode. Until then, this is Preeti signing off. Like, share and subscribe to Coffee with Preeti. Bye-bye.